Yeah.
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 We got
40 degrees warmer than yes.
But who's in? Oh, I guess they're sitting in the audience somewhere.
Did you notice I didn't have any
I
comments?
did. I thought maybe you just hadn't had a chance to review it.
You had everything in there? I was looking.
There's a couple more sections I still got to put in
I have
there.
a section.
No.
Rent you could do.
Oh, we have more.
I would do.
Yeah. No.
Right.
I would pick
Because I think you have to.
a number and do it.
I don't know. They said something about
In year 5, it goes to this.
Okay. Lance was suggesting we reference a provision of statutes that would give those limits. But did you get a chance to talk
Point is,
about that on the insurance
It was
system?
very brief that there's a statute.
Nine.
If you
It has to be 9?
reference it,
No,
then
now we have
limits change.
Even if I didn't read
Is what I imagine. Because he said the amount.
Now, like sovereign immunity, where's our now an inflationary factor built into the
In the
law.
statute.
Yeah.
10th
So I
Street.
think if you at
Yeah.
least have a
Okay.
or a
And we've got time to make that tweak, but
It's a huge work.
And the length of
yeah, usually it's what someone's expecting for an investment. They're looking at about $300,000 for that.
Forum is, that was 2 or 3 years ago, I thought. Cool. So Michael.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just negotiate that. I mean, Steve's proposing we sort of do it necessity against.
And so I thought maybe that would be.
We use it.
Yeah.
Then you go tear
I
it all
think they're
down.
supposed to be 5 years. So maybe it's been 5 years. Just yesterday.
It's a rebate.
No,
Yeah,
actually, it's
yeah, but I haven't
been
really
working on it
shared it
since
with him yet. I want this review with council.
since-
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
We have a representative from the Ministerial Alliance. Would you like to lead us in a prayer?
Our heads. Oh Lord Jesus Christ, our God, we thank you for this opportunity to assemble. We are especially mindful of your sacrifice that you've made for us as we approach the commemoration of Easter. And again, thank you for all that you've done for us. We ask your blessing on tonight's meeting, on whatever decisions might be made, that you would lead us with your Holy Spirit and accomplish not only the good of the community, but also the salvation of all of those involved. We ask all of these things in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Jacob, would you like to open the meeting with a pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're starting with old business tonight. First item is an ordinance vacating the existing storm sewer easement on Lot 24 of the Silverleaf subdivision.
We discussed this at our last meeting. This particular storm drainage easement is not being used by us right now. This house protrudes into that easement about a foot, a little small triangle about a foot into. We are recommending that the ordinance for vacation be approved. And we're just vacating the little triangle.
Jimmy Dale?
Steve, you said we're not utilizing the easement right now.
Correct.
Is there a time in the future we might?
I'd hate to give it up. It's a storm drainage easement. You never know when you might be able to need to put some extra storm drainage in that particular subdivision, but I don't anticipate it right now. Typically, the setback line and the easement are about equal. So,
But if there's a might to it,
sorry,
if there's a might to it, might use it sometime in the future.
Mike,
Where we're at though, how are we going to?
it only takes a small portion of it, 1 foot out of one little space in the easement.
Yeah, we're not giving up the whole
We'd still
easement.
be able to get a storm drain through it.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? Can we have the final reading, please?
An ordinance vacating a portion of an existing storm sewer easement in Lot 24 of the Silverleaf subdivision.
Orders passed.
Second.
Motion made and second. Roll call vote.
Mush.
Yes.
Schott.
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Roder,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Eberly,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Ordinance is approved. Next item is an ordinance authorizing me to enter into agreement with Javiation.
There are a couple of things I'd like to do tonight, if it's okay. At the last meeting, we should have gotten a motion selecting Javiation as our airport consultant as a result of our request for qualification statements. I'd like to do that first if we could, just so there's a record that the council went on record recommending that they be.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second, roll call vote. Oh, wait, we have to have final reading.
No, just a
Just
motion.
The motion to approve Javiation.
Okay, the motion toward, sorry. Motion made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Second part of what we need to do tonight is to have the final reading of the contract. We have a master agreement that will be used over the next 5 years for consulting work that's done at our airport. That's one section. The second section is the first task from that master agreement, which is an update of our Exhibit A property map, which seems like that we update that every time we're in a grant program. We need to update our property map first. So that's a fairly small task. The next task on our list of things to do would be an overlay project for 422. That document is not ready yet, but will be shortly for your review. But tonight, we would like to get the final reading of the ordinance for the master agreement and for task number 1.
Any questions?
Steve? Money-wise, where's it coming from?
We're hoping that we're going to get 100% grant. We're in the running for one. If worst case is 95% grant, or no, 90% grant and 10% city. If it comes down to a 10% match on the overlay program, we are looking at a STAR program that would allow us to borrow our match over a period of time, somewhere between 5 to 10 years at low interest rate. Don't know if that's going to happen yet. We're, like I say, we're still in the running for the overlay grant. That's really the only major project that we're considering right now.
Okay.
Steve, how long can we string out some of this work? Like the airport layout plan and things like that? I mean, is there something hanging over us, we have to do this now, or can we?
No, the only thing that's really hanging over us is the overlay of 422. 422s are
So that'll
pretty
just
bad
keep
shape.
deteriorating.
It was originally constructed back in the late 80s. It's been down for quite some time, and it's probably ready for an overlay. The property map update is required for the next phase of the grant program, so we need to do that before we can actually get the grant. We're hopeful that 100% grant's still available.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve? If not, can we have the final reading?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor, city of Rolla, Missouri, to execute on behalf of the city of Rolla, Missouri, a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Javiation, Inc. for planning, environmental, and consulting services.
Proposed ordinance passed.
Second.
Motion made and second, roll call vote.
Roder,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Eberly,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Muse,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Ordinance is approved. Next item is an ordinance authorizing me to enter into a contract with Lehman Construction for Project 479, McCutcheon Roundabout and gutter work.
So we opened bids for project 479. Lehman Construction was rated as low bid. At the April 1st meeting, council awarded that bid. So tonight we're asking for a second reading of the ordinance for the mayor to enter a contract with Lehman Construction for $205,706.65.
Any questions? If not, can we have the final reading?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Rolla, Missouri to execute on behalf of the city of Rolla, Missouri a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Lehman Construction LLC for McCutcheon Roundabout Project 479.
Move proposed ordinance passed.
Second.
Motion made and second, roll call vote.
Jones,
Yes.
Williams,
No.
Young,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Muse,
Yes.
Roder,
Yes.
Eberly,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
8 ayes and 1 nay.
Ordinance is approved. Next item is an ordinance authorizing me to enter into a contract with Capital Paving and Construction.
So we opened bids on project 490, 2019 Phase 3 asphalt improvements. The bid was awarded to Capital Paving at the last council meeting. So we're asking for the final reading of the ordinance for the mayor to enter a contract with Capital Paving Construction LLC for $183,190.95.
Any questions for Darren? If not, final reading.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of City of Rolla, Missouri to execute on behalf of the City of Rolla, Missouri, a certain agreement between the City of Rolla, Missouri and Capital Paving and Construction LLC for 2019 Phase 3 asphalt improvements, Project 490.
Move proposed ordinance passed.
Second.
Motion made and second. Roll call vote.
Murphy,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Mush,
Yes.
Roder,
Yes.
Eberly,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Moving on to the next section, the consent agenda. We're looking for a motion to approve the April 2nd certified election results.
So
John?
moved.
Second.
John?
I'm not sure there's much more I could add.
John?
We've included that in the council packet from Pamela Groh, the Phelps County Clerk, to certify the election results.
Okay, there's a motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next section is the transition of council representatives. Offgoing councilpersons Jonathan Hines, Brian Woolley, and Steve Young. You know, during the tenure of these three individuals, Rolla has undoubtedly experienced the biggest projects in our history. We implemented a tax increment financing for the West Side Marketplace. We created a transportation development district, which was complex. They slugged through a very complex development agreement for the West Side Marketplace. We planned this Highway 63 project. So there was an awful lot that they participated in, and they were always prepared and did a really good job. And Steve is with us tonight, so I would like to present him with a plaque, and then I have some comments from Jonathan. When I present these plaques, I feel sometimes inadequate. I know how much work these folks do. I think sometimes the citizens don't realize how much time and commitment goes into not only meetings, but being prepared for things and slugging through a lot of reading material, time away from family and things like that. So in addition to the plaque, I would certainly like to give Steve a big round.
Oh, up there? All right.
I've got to do it from this side. State your name and address, please.
My name is Stephen Young, 900 West 13th Street here in Rolla, Missouri. So the last 4 years has been a very interesting experience. I didn't realize when I first wrote my name in what that would turn into. And so in a country where we are allowed to have elections, I'm glad to have lost in an election than allowed a seat to go empty. And that's how I got here in the first place. The 4 years that I served, I feel like we've done some phenomenal things. And the building of things is easy. Maintaining is hard. And the rest of you are going to have to make some very difficult decisions, not so much on what we get to do, but how and what we're going to try to maintain. And so I wish you all the best of luck. in how you manage the next several years, because there are a lot of big ticket items, many of you are aware, that are going to need to be addressed. And so, again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve the community, and I wish the rest of you the best of luck with serving the community. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more thing. Our directors and chiefs are phenomenal, and I hope that you can continue to serve them like they serve us. Thank you all very much.
Jonathan's not able to be here with us due to a family illness, so please keep him in your prayers. He did ask me to read a statement. Thanks, John and the mayor, for their hard work and dedication, models of integrity. Thank the city staff and employees. You have all been great to work with, and I appreciate all the efforts you make every day to keep costs down and stretch every dollar. Thank you to our police and firemen. The outstanding job done by our policemen and firemen are often taken for granted because they are always taking care of our community, even with manpower and budgetary constraints. My time on the city council has been an educational experience. From planning and zoning, codes enforcements, tax increment financing, state and federal unfunded mandates, and of course the EPA and water treatment regulations. The City Council is going to have some difficult decisions to make in the coming years. The center funding and its future will have to be decided. The budget is tight, and there's not enough revenue to cover all of the cost coming in the next 10 years. The city has capital reinvestment expenditures in buildings and facilities, which will have to be made. The reserves must be replenished to provide stability through an economic downturn, and there are also manpower and salary issues to address. The bottom line is council is going to have to prioritize and decide what the city will not do rather than what else the city can do. The foundation for continued economic growth is public safety and infrastructure. If these are allowed to decay, the city's economic prospects will decline. Rolla is a wonderful place to live. It has been an honor to serve on the city council. We are lucky to live in a society where we have the opportunity to practice self-government. It is not easy, and self-government requires people willing to make sacrifices to serve. I thank all of the council members for being willing to engage and to serve, and I wish all of you the best going forward. We now have the oath and swearing in of the newly elected officials. Would you please rise and see Carol first?
Repeat after me. I, and state your name.
I, Rachel Schneider,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And of the state of Missouri.
and of the state of Missouri,
And that I will faithfully demean myself.
and that I will faithfully demean myself
In the office of Ward.
in the office of Ward 1,
For which I was elected.
on
the second day of April.
on the second day of April
2019.
2019.
Okay, congratulations. I need some signatures. Sign right here, please.
Of course.
Sign right there.
Sure.
That's good.
All right, right here.
Right below, right below.
Okay.
In the very line here.
Oh, this one. Okay. Thank you.
That's you and mine.
Put sign right there. Date.
Pictures of it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Rachel.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. Nice to meet you.
What a diverse.
Now I see how the other half lives.
Tom, are they going to make their webpage?
Appreciate it.
They're going to make the webpage? I feel slighted. I haven't had one in a while. That's okay. I'm on good terms with Tom. I'm on good terms with Tom. We gotta have fun. Well, I'd like to introduce our newcomers, Rachel Schneider, Marie Allen, and Christine Reuter. Would you like to introduce yourself and make a statement?
Sure. Do I get up or just
Your
sit
call.
up? Okay. Hi, sorry, this is all new. Hi, I'm Rachel Schneider. I work at Missouri S&T. I've been a citizen of Rolla for the last 3 years. Native of Columbia, Missouri. My dad lives in Jeff City. I've really enjoyed living here in Rolla, and I'm so excited to serve y'all.
My name's Marie Allen. I've been a Rolla resident for 20 years, and I'm just delighted for the opportunity to serve in this capacity.
Hi, I'm Christine Reuter, and I teach second grade over at Truman Elementary. Also taught third and fourth grade there, and I've been there for 22 years. And I also am excited to start this new adventure. I also wanted to say thank you to everyone who came out and voted and took the time to vote in a municipal election, because your voice is important. That's what I tell my kids all the time. When you get older, you need to vote every election. So even if you didn't vote for me, thank you for coming out and voting.
Thank you and welcome aboard. We do not have any public hearings tonight, nor do we have any special presentations, no new business, no claims or fiscal transactions. Consider this a gimme to the newbies. We will make up for it next week. Moving on to Mayor and City Council comments. I would like to reappoint Dr. Delbert Day to the Airport Advisory Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I would like to appoint Ms. Linda Goff to the Health and Recreation Center Advisory Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next section is council appointment of Mayor Pro Tem. This is your choice to select for the newcomers. There will be a nomination and a vote. I open up the nomination.
I'd like to nominate Matthew Crowell.
Second.
Did the pay go up?
I don't know.
Any other nominations? If not, all in favor of Matthew Crowell for Mayor Pro Tem signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Welcome.
you.
Good job. I'd like to defer on the next item, the planning and zoning. Frankly speaking, I've had a family emergency this week and did not have a chance to talk to someone about this, so I would like to bring this back in 2 weeks. Next item is Local Government Week. This is one of those occasions where we get to recognize our employees and their government service. Again, they do an awful lot. They fall under the radar sometimes. It's very easy to blame them and criticize them and everything else that we sometimes hear, but we don't take enough time to recognize what they do. And they do have a hard job. They are professionals, and they're always under some sort of budgetary constraints, but we do like to recognize them. So that's going to be in a two-part function. One is to recognize Local Government Week, which is April 14th through the 20th, and via a proclamation. And I do think words are important on these proclamations, so I'd just like to take a few minutes to read it if I may. Whereas the city of Rolla, Missouri joins the Missouri Municipal League and over 660 cities and municipalities across the state in proclaiming and recognizing Local Government Week, April 14th through April 20th. And whereas local government is the backbone of our democracy and the bedrock of our political system, and is a testimony to liberty, freedom, and the right to elected self-government. Whereas citizens of Missouri rely on local governments to deliver essential community services such as safe and affordable water, sewer, electric, well-maintained streets, sidewalks, efficient trash collection, recycling pickup services, parks, recreation, police, and fire protection, and effective planning and zoning and economic development. Whereas local government also includes the Rolla City Council, the Phelps County Commission, the Rolla School Board, the Phelps County Regional Medical Center, the Emergency Services Board, the Rolla Rural Fire Department, and scores of citizen volunteers serving on our various boards and commissions. Whereas through education and awareness, the importance of local government can be celebrated and shared with all citizens, state and federal officials, and the news media. Recognition of local government services and many accomplishments will give Rolla residents a better understanding of how essential local services are provided. Now therefore, I, Louis Magnitz IV, Mayor of Rolla, do hereby proclaim April 14th through April 20th as Local Government Week. John, is there any things this week we want to let the community be aware of?
Yeah, the only thing we're doing an appreciation luncheon for all city employees this Wednesday at the center. You're all invited to participate in that lunch. If you'd like and show up at around 10:30, you could actually help prepare for it, or if you want to come at 12:30, there's actually a cleanup. So we're actually going to do that with department directors. RMU's been invited to be a part of that. Rodney's going to help. And so come and enjoy lunch. If you'd like to pitch in and help serve the employees or to clean up afterwards, you're welcome to help us do that as well. But just a chance to get together socially. And that'll be at the center, 11 a.m. to 12:30.
What day?
Wednesday.
Thank you. Citizen communication. Are there any citizens that would like to speak to the council? Yes, ma'am.
Got some information for you. Okay. Have you pass it around?
Great.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you please, for the record, state your name and address, please?
Is this first, yeah? Good evening. My name is Gina Root. I am a community member, a mother, and an educator. I've been an educator for nearly 20 years. I've worked for natural history museums, state parks. I've been a formal educator in the classroom. I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last few years until recently. It was suggested to me by a friend to look into Tinker Garden, and that's why I'm here tonight. Tinker Garden is outdoor classes led by leaders such as myself. It's all outdoor. It's play-based, it's research-based classes. As an educator, I have been super impressed with the quality of this program. I'm very passionate about getting people outside, and this is an excellent vehicle for that. I am here tonight because I would like to lead my classes in city parks. However, it's a commercial-based operation, and after speaking to Mr. Jerrigan in your Parks Department, he said I needed to come and speak to you all. So that's why I'm here. The logistics of the program is that it's all online. Tinker Garden is a national company. It's based out of somewhere in the Northeast, I'm not even sure, somewhere in New York, I believe. Participants just hear about it mostly on Facebook, like 80% of their marketing happens through Facebook. Some of it is word of mouth. They go to the website, they sign up on the website, they pay for it on the website, and I get an email that says you have somebody who signed up for your class. And so as a leader, I choose the place and I choose the time, and that's it. They provide me with the curriculum, they provide me with the materials, and I just show up and teach the classes. So I like to do it in the parks, but I understand because it's a commercial interest, there's an ordinance that perhaps prohibits that without a special permit granted by the city council. There's no advertisement per se, except that if a person goes to the Tinker Garden website and types in the area code, it brings up a list of local classes, and it in one place says it will be in such and such park. If you guys grant me the opportunity to do it in the parks here, Green Acres is probably my park of choice, just because it's central and the facilities, the beautiful facilities are there now, and it's got all the other things that I would need. I would not need a pavilion. It's all outdoors, open space. It happens rain or shine, snow even, 4 seasons of the year. And that's why I love it, because it gets families outside all year round, and no matter the weather. So do you all have any questions for me about that, or?
I have a few if I can, and
Yes,
I'm sorry
please.
that I've not heard of Tinker Garden, but I'll certainly look
It's a
up.
relatively new company. They do have leaders, about 1,800 leaders in 49 states. So it's not, it's relatively new, but not small.
Just reading while you're talking,
Mhm.
it looks like it's got a good mission and good purpose. A couple of questions. I'm assuming it's a for-profit entity?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you an actual employee, or you're a franchise? or
I'm a
what?
contractor with them.
Contract
so
employee.
I get paid on a contractual basis. Yeah.
Okay. I don't, sometimes a permit is a big deal, sometimes it's not. So I don't know that requiring a permit is really a big deal, a barrier for you to be in our parks. But there's other parts that we require, which is certificate of
Right.
insurance, if
Right.
you will. So
And,
presumably you'll get that
Yes.
that done.
Yes.
The other thing, as I understand, and either Floyd or John could talk about this a little bit, but when it comes to park programs with entities like this, we look for ways to partner
Yes.
in some way.
Mhm.
How can we help you and you help us? Because you're promoting our parks in a way as well. So that's just sort of an opening set of statements. John, did you want to add to that, or?
Well, the only thing I could add, and one of the complications, if we look at the ordinance, I think Floyd shared some of this with you, but if you look at the ordinance, the way it's currently written, it's an old ordinance that basically says you can't operate for-profit activities in the parks. You can't sell service, you can't provide merchandise, you can't provide services. We've always found a way around that by partnerships, and so if it becomes a city-sponsored or co-sponsored event, then the city and the group sort of endeavors to do the recreational activity or the outdoor activity, whatever that is. So there's really nothing in the ordinance that says the city council can grant a exception, but in the absence of anything to the contrary, I think Floyd's suggestion was, well, let's have the conversation, because this opens up other issues that are related to this kind of thing. Now, over the years, there have been folks that have done things in the parks. I know for a fact there have been people that have done tennis lessons, private tennis lessons, and we may know about those things, we may not know about those things. We officially, if somebody asks us, can they operate for-profit activity or even a not-for-profit that's doing it for a charge, our answer is no, unless it's approved by us, there's a permit granted, and if it's an entity, that there's an insurance provision as a part of that. So I think it's fine to have this conversation. It's going to be good to hear from council on how you want to proceed. But ultimately, if we're going to get into opening up the parks for a for-profit activity, that ordinance has to be reviewed and looked at, and most likely a new ordinance adopted, because there's no provision currently that allows for that under the current ordinance.
Could we utilize the partnership yet again?
Yeah.
I'm assuming, weather's breaking and you want to get started?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's almost the easiest thing, and I think that's what Floyd in the conversation was, is there a way of partnering? I'm not sure that that's something the Tinker Garden is prepared to do or has been doing.
And I don't have the answer to that. I know that they will contribute to the park and contribute a donation, a percentage of the profit they make. So if that is what you mean by partnership, then that's definitely an option. I can put you guys in touch with the people at the Central Tinker Garden team about what kind of partnership details might be hashed out. But I'm, again, just a contractor. So.
Look, anytime we can get kids outside.
Yes.
And use
Exactly.
our park
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Before I turn the questions over, work with Floyd and.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Go ahead, Judy.
I was just wondering, how do we do like 5Ks and so forth that start like at Veterans Memorial Park and?
Right. Even if they're nonprofit, they might be collecting money.
Yeah, and we require them to get a permit.
Okay.
And that permit, if it includes a pavilion or something, there's a charge for it, unless, again, we co-sponsor those. So that's kind of the way that we really allow a lot of those kinds of organizations and activities to take place.
What's in the permit? What's the basis of the permit? I shouldn't say it's a no-brainer, but
it's a pretty simple, the information you got to provide, the number of kids that you would anticipate, the number of people participating, the location, whether security is provided, insurance. It's a one-page, fairly simple form to fill out.
Okay, so no major barrier.
No.
And I understand that you will, the parks require background check and CPR certification, which I can do. I've already done. Actually, I'm a volunteer with the school, so, yeah.
David?
Just a quick clarification on the permit. The permit process has been done before, and we have previously allowed these things only through a partnership or also with just the permit process? Or always through a partnership?
No, not always.
Just to clarify, not always through a partnership?
Not always with a partnership sort of waives the fees or shares in the fees.
Okay.
So every project is done a little bit different. It depends on, if they're coming into it as a for-profit model, it takes a different tone than if it's a not-for-profit model.
Right. Okay, but it has been done before, it does sound like.
Yes.
In this,
Either through a
and our ordinance
permit
doesn't
or
necessarily prohibit that fully. From what you're saying.
There's one provision in there that talks about if it's a concession error that is already has a relationship in the community, then the parks director can grant that concessionaire the right to be in a park.
Gotcha.
That's the only exception. So we've over the years have said, but if it's a park program recognized that way, then we do the permit as a result of that.
Okay. Okay.
So.
I had two other quick things. One is just, I was wondering if we could get a copy sent to all of the council, just to be able to look it over also, just to.
Sure, of the ordinance?
Yeah, the ordinance, excuse me. And then the other thing I was going to bring up, which kind of is a segue, I've had some discussions with folks in my ward recently, and it's not really specific to Tinker Garden, but it's more a broader thing. I've had some folks mention to me, I've been to places where, say, they're doing music, art festival, farmer's market, like say Tower Grove Park in St. Louis does like a farmer's market. I've also, I don't know if anybody's heard of like Shakespeare in the Park at Forest Park in St. Louis. So those would be models where I've definitely gone and paid money to get into those things, or at the farmer's market bought items that are money transacting. Just wanted to bring that up in the sense that I don't know how that fits into our ordinance, but those community activities certainly seem positives for our whole community if there'd be a way to make that jive with an ordinance, and also be aware of what could that cause if we allow, like, for example, we allow one or two, do we have to allow everyone, and do we have some discretion about which things? So I just wanted to bring it up as a idea, and also that some folks had mentioned it to me to pass on, so.
And we really do all those things. So we have a farmer's market that's actually a co-sponsored city project. We've done theater in the parks. We've done all those kinds of things.
Sure.
All of those, if it's a formal entity,
Okay.
requires a permit process. Sometimes there's a charge, sometimes not. Depends if their fundraising is to raise money, then there's a cost, because there's a cleanup
Sure.
cost. There's a cost associated
Makes
with it.
sense, yep.
There are some cases where it's just a group or a church gathering for a social event, and there's no cost for those kinds of things. The one great thing, and this is what I think we'd ultimately want to have Carolyn and legal involved with, is if we approach an ordinance that's going to sort of allow that as a blanket, and we're going into it that there's an expectation of a right, then we just need to be aware that that right extends to any legal entities. And sometimes there are some groups that sometimes can be very difficult to deal with in a community, and we just have to acknowledge if we're going to make these available for public spaces for those purposes under a permit, you can't be arbitrary in who you're granting those to and who you're not. So, but cities have found ways to work through that, and we can as well.
And if we've done this in the past, we've had to do that same thing in the past.
Well, it is, but our rule now is that you really can't do it unless you're approved through a permit, and that permit requires a co-sponsorship. So, it's been a little easier to control it the way it is now, but the ordinance is outdated, and would give you the impression you can't do any of those things in the park system. We found creative ways to sort of make that work, but a revision of that ordinance is going to open this up to a broader use of activities in the parks.
Thank you.
Many of which most of us would find very acceptable, a few of which people might find objectionable.
David, for most of the years, our parks have been very much committed to the active sports, soccer, baseball, and things like that, or the complete other end of the spectrum, which is truly passive use, which is the walking trails and things like that. But there's a whole big area in between that's underutilized. The Shakespeare in the Park, yoga in the park on Sundays. When I first moved here, there was something called probably going to mispronounce it, but I think it was a Chautauqua, where somebody would come and play, and he was dressed a character, Mark Twain and things like that. So Floyd is aware of it. Floyd is committed to looking at all these things to more fully have the citizens use the parks. We have a great park system. So, Daniel, you have your hand up?
No, my question was answered.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
in
sir.
terms of if anybody, what do we do if someone is injured? Is there ever any liability that falls to the city, like at a baseball game, at one of the games at the park, or the, just other individuals, other things that happen? And if there's the liability insurance covers the Tinker Garden, would we have any? Would we be a deep pocket, for in terms of the liability?
I'll let Carolyn answer first.
I mean, basically, for a general principle, the city has a sort of immunity, a sovereign immunity, but there are certain exceptions to that, and it might, I'm not going to go into like all the possible exceptions of that at this point, but there are some exceptions to that in the law. But it is generally recommended by our insurance company that, when there are certain circumstances where you would like whoever it is you're serving, or if you're contracting with, to have their own insurance policy as well, because it just depends on what the circumstances are. So the answer is yes, it's possible there's liability, but there are some circumstances or many circumstances where we would be protected. Which, thank you, is the lawyer's answer to you.
Yes or no wouldn't suffice. Huh?
Yeah, no, it's the maybe.
Any other questions?
I would like to add something, if I may. You all mentioned an existing entity. I have started Tinker Garden classes in the community in another green space that is not a city park, and my enrollment is full, so, well, nearly full. So one of my classes is full completely, and the other one is 3/4 full. So this is something that our community has wanted, and I would like to add, too, that it was by very little effort on my part. I placed a few strategic posts on Facebook, and voila. So, I mean, I've had very little to do with it, and people really want it. People ask me about it, so I think it's something that our community really wants. Personally, to pay for people to be outside is kind of goes against my values, I guess, but it's also very beneficial because it holds people responsible, and they don't have an excuse. We paid for this, we have to go. So the end goal of getting children in the park and getting them outdoors is hit very well, and it builds stewardship for our parks. We leave no trace. The whole Tinker Garden principle. We bring our own little snack blanket, so I don't even use the trash cans in the park. I take everything with me when we leave. So I pick up all the trash in the area before I start a class. So anyway, I just wanted to add that
Thank
in
you.
there.
Sounds like a good thing, and please work with Floyd.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there was another hand up. Yes, please.
Awesome. Sure. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Gail Daniel, and I live at 12170 County Road 2220. And I see some familiar faces from last year. It was about a year ago this year when I was here. And we are preparing for our 3rd annual heroin awareness and prevention seminar. And 2.5 years ago, I lost my daughter to a heroin overdose. And in 2017, September of 2017, our President Donald Trump declared the opiate epidemic a national emergency and it is a public crisis. We don't hear about it a whole lot and haven't for the last couple of years. But just because we're not hearing about it, the problem still exists. Death due to overdose is still, for 3 years, the leading cause of accidental death in our country. And so I'm passing around. We're preparing for our 3rd annual event. It is May 11th We have some wonderful speakers. We have our Fire Chief Ron Smith is going to be speaking. Thank you so much. We have Chief Fagan is going to be speaking at the event. Thank you so much. We have Jamie Myers from Prevention Consultants is going to be speaking. And we have probably about 7 or 8 faith-based resource tables that are kind of comparative to NAAA. And they're coming from all over the community, and they're going to set up resource tables to share with our community. And I would like to invite you all to come. And
as I remember, you had a very heartbreaking story, and,
yes.
and I'm sorry for
Thank
your
you so
loss.
much.
But as I recall, you and your husband were building a house or
Yes.
something. Is that? Can
Yes.
you
The house
refresh
is-
our memory on that?
The house is up and running. I was going to mention Ronnie's retreat. My daughter's name was Veronica, and one of the nicknames that I called her was Ronnie. And so about a year ago, my husband and I decided that we wanted to build a sober living transitional home. And we took out a loan, a personal loan. We're paying for it 100%, no profit in it. And the home is actually up. We moved our first family in on January 3rd, and they were there for 3 months. We helped Joe get a job with Cohen Manufacturing. They moved out about a month ago. They're doing incredible, drug-free, nicotine-free, alcohol-free. We did some parenting class. My husband and I are also certified to do parenting classes and alcohol, chemical treatment, substance classes, anger management classes. And we did some marriage classes with them. We sent them on a marriage encounter. And they're doing wonderful. We moved a young woman in about 3 weeks ago. And since Chelsea has been there, I wish she was here with me tonight. She will be there on May 11th, sharing her testimony. She hasn't drank, smoked, done Adderall, in 3 weeks, and this is the first time in her life that she's ever been sober. So Ronnie's retreat is up and running, and come August we'll have 3 to 4 openings in August. So yes, we're doing it, and we would love for the community. The event is in Rolla, and I know Saturday, May 11th is the day before Mother's Day, but I know you came out last year. I think wasn't there a couple at the city council? Was there?
Few of
Okay,
us.
yeah, and it was one, and we're looking for, we think this year is going to be even better. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Daniel?
Any questions?
I just have a comment. I just want to say, with everything that our community is going through with the opioid epidemic, I look at things like the faith-based things that you're doing and some of the other things that are happening in our community, and it gives me a great sense of hope. And I've known you guys for several years. I've watched your organization and your family grow from terrible circumstances. And I just want to say that I and Ward 1 are very proud to have you in our area helping us get through what we're having to deal with. And I hope that we can also extend our hands to you and help you get through what you're dealing with.
Thank you so much. I'm wanting to, I talked with Linda at the prosecutor's office, and I'm going to, she gave me one of the judge's secretaries. I'm going to see if I can't invite him and encourage him to come. We really would love to have the community to start referring some of the people that are on probation to let us try to help them. I think we can help. I'm convinced that we can help. We are doing it. So thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Gail.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Any other citizen? Rodney? You're coming as an unofficial?
All right.
Yeah?
No, it's okay.
Coming in an unofficial capacity?
No, I'm here. Unfortunately, I'm here on official business. Sorry, I wasn't able to get you more information ahead of time. So I had a meeting up in Columbia today on the way back. I had a meeting with Senator Brown and Representative Mayhew, talk about a project that's very important to Rolla and 39 communities in the state of Missouri. So, and I talked a little bit about this when I was on the radio last week too, but I'm going to talk about the Grain Belt Express. I think some of you are aware of the transmission line that's planned to go. I've spoken about it before, from western Kansas, taking inexpensive wind power from western Kansas, transporting it to Indiana. So that's the basics of what the project was initially envisioned as. It basically would come across Missouri on the northern tier of the state, about St. Joseph to the Hannibal area as it makes its way across the state. So unfortunately, wind power is generated usually where a population is not, and we got to get it to the population center. So that was the backbone, or why this project came about. So initially, the company wanting to build this transmission line put that together in 2016, submitted that to the Public Service Commission, and it was rejected back then, mainly because the Public Service Commission felt there's no public benefit for Missouri by just allowing this transmission company to go through our state without providing any type of benefit for the residents here. So after that failure, the company reached out to municipals, they reached out to the co-op systems, the investor-owned systems, and says, how can we provide a benefit in your communities for your systems? And fortunately for us, the municipals stepped up and said, we're interested in helping with this project in exchange for our ability to try and access this low-cost wind energy coming out of western Kansas. So, so they went back with our support. We're showing that there's a public benefit for this. We're interested in receiving this power. Went back to the Public Service Commission on a technicality. The commissioners ruled in favor, then said there is a public benefit, but because of technicality, they didn't think the company had all their ducks in a row as far as what they're trying to do. So they rejected it. Ultimately, it was appealed to one of the district courts, ended up at the Missouri Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the Public Service Commission erred in their decision. They remanded it back to the commission, said you need to rehear this thing, and here are the rules that you need to think about when you're doing the commission. So they had a third hearing, and at that third hearing, in March of this year, the project was approved. So it sounds like we're all good to go until the legislature convened this spring. So one of the representatives up in the affected territory has filed a bill. It's House Bill 1062, and I think we would call it the Stop the Grain Belt Express type bill. So it's a landowner right issue for landowners, and landowners have been very vocal in their opposition to the transmission line. They're concerned about obviously land rights, eminent domain, all those types of issues. And so this bill basically would pull the legs out from underneath this company and building the project by letting them, basically denying them the ability to use eminent domain. So let's talk about eminent domain. That's always the, I guess, the last resort a company would do. The Public Service Commission in all their hearings listened to the landowners, very concerned about the landowners that this would affect, and put a lot of protections in their order, wrote them into the order to protect the landowners, make sure there's good faith negotiations. There's only, think about this, about the line itself, this is a 260-mile line across the state. Only 9 acres of agricultural land can be taken out of production due to this construction of this facility. Think about that, 9 acres in a 260-mile stretch. It's unprecedented, the protections that have been put in the bill, or in the PSC order. So we're requesting our representatives, senators oppose this House bill. I think it's going to be a tough fight in the legislature. However, you know, from our perspective, and this is why it's important to us, is we have an expiring power contract. We buy coal power out of Illinois, some facilities in Illinois. That contract is expiring. We can replace that coal power with wind power from western Kansas, some natural gas facilities that we've already have the rights to, lower costs, and our projections for our 39 cities that are participating and could receive this power at the moment, that we could see our rates in Rolla, our wholesale costs go down about 5%. That's over $1 million. And that's real money. This is real benefits not only for Rolla, but a lot of our communities, especially the northern part of the state, in our power pool, we're the biggest city in our power pool, but 25 of our 35 cities, population 5,000 or less, typically located, a lot of them in northern Missouri, a lot of them in economically depressed areas, where a 5% reduction in wholesale costs is a big deal. It is a really big deal, especially for our smaller communities. So it allows them to reinvest in their facilities, possibly do rate stabilization, rate reductions, or any combination of those things. So, excuse me. So I want to get the message out that why this project is important to us. The Public Service Commission in their order did see a public benefit. They're very careful about the hearings, the testimony they heard. They did hearings in the communities where this would be affected. And again, went through a very lengthy deliberation, not only once, but 3 times to make sure they were doing the right thing. And so, what I'm here to say is inform the community, inform the council of House Bill 1062, the impacts it would have positively for our communities. For us in our area, it means Lebanon, Waynesville, St. James, and Rolla are kind of the 4 in the I-44 corridor here that would benefit from this project. But again, that's kind of the message I want to have tonight, just get some information out there.
So you're suggesting that people reach out to their legislatures?
I would recommend they reach out to their legislators.
Can you put on your website some facts that people could
use? Yeah, I'll probably, the easiest
Don't
place for us
editorialize, just facts.
I can get some information out there and actually pinpoint people where they can go see the order, do that kind of stuff. We've been communicating with the legislators in that way. They'll probably be on our Facebook page. That's the easiest place for me to get that stuff up, but I can also reference it.
We don't all use Facebook.
I know, but I can also, we can get something up on our website too.
Okay, thank you. David?
I just want to confirm, we would be telling citizens to reject the House Bill 1062.
To oppose House Bill 1062.
And the other question I had, besides the impact to the cities that, like you're mentioning 35 or 25, 35.
There's 39 cities, 360,000 Missourians would benefit from this cheap wind power in Missouri.
Are there other groups, say bigger energy companies like Ameren or others, that would see it as a negative and therefore opposing it with their pressure groups or anything?
No, this is really what's happening here is we're picking winners and losers. You know, who can use eminent domain, who can't. And again, speaking from, as a city, obviously we know we have the power to use eminent domain, but we would also recognize that as the last resort that we would ever want to use. We always want to try and negotiate those types of situations. And again, it is a land rights issue, and we respect that, and obviously we want to make sure the landowners are taken care of. But that's why these protections have been built in. The company's been very forthcoming, saying we're going to take care of landowners as we try and develop this project.
Rodney, I think the commission did a very smart thing by holding out as long as they did to get us the first off-ramp.
Yep.
Can you describe that impact to council and the citizens?
Well, we've had a lot of good things go that way because the Public Service Commission denied this the first time and said they did not see a public benefit. We want to see a public benefit. It allowed the municipals to enter into a very good deal, a negotiated price of the transmission line access. So we have a contract with this company for the rights for them to get us power from western Kansas to Missouri. They have a converter station up near the Hannibal in Monroe. I think it's in Rawls County, I think. We already have a pre-negotiated contract with a wind farm that's going to be developed out in western Kansas. That's contingent on this power line being built, obviously. But because the commission denied this the first time, it allowed us to get, you call it first mover rate, however you want to say, but they were very much incentivized to find someone in Missouri that they could help. And we're very much appreciative of that opportunity, especially for our customers and citizens here.
They didn't want the power just to cross Missouri and go
Right.
to the expensive states.
Right.
We want the first stop.
We want to be the first stop, and we were able to negotiate, and rightfully so, a good deal on that. Some of the opposition is trying to portray that as a bad thing, that we're trying to help our citizens off the backs of the landowners in this area. That's not really the case. I see these as two different things.
Jody?
I have 2 questions. The results of your meetings today, what were you successful in?
I think with Senator Brown, he is looking at the issue very closely. Right now, it looks like there's going to be a House vote this week. It's moving. This bill is moving quite quickly. It's probably my read on it is probably going to pass out of the House fairly strongly, and then it's going to go to the Senate, and then we'll see how the Senate handles this. But it's a very difficult issue. The Speaker is behind this legislation, so it puts a lot of our legislators in a very uncomfortable spot.
So the coal contract that we're going to have to, what's the timeline on that? Are we going to have to renew that before?
I think we have the ability as a pool to renew that as we need to, but not necessarily for another 10 years or anything like that. So I think we're trying to work that in. And because we've had other delays, it's allowed us to even get a better, renegotiate a few things with the contracts.
David?
Just one other quick thing. Obviously, we're looking on the positive side here, and I think hopefully citizens will contact their lawmakers. But for some reason, let's say this bill does go through, what recourse could we have? Is there any recourse?
It'd be very difficult.
Okay.
Very difficult. But it's not impossible. But again, if you can look at the Highway 72 project, I think there's some holdouts along the way on that. You got to have everybody participating in order to make a project. You can't do this with everybody but one landowner.
Mhm.
So it's an important tool for our and not just this particular project, but if we use this tool for the Grain Belt Express project, what about the next pipeline that wants to go in, the next electric utility? Where do we stop on taking that tool away?
Thank you, Rodney.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
Any other citizen communications? Comments for the good of the order? We have one item scheduled for close. I'm sorry? Jimmy, no. Grass.
I got about 4.
4?
Yeah.
You gonna announce them?
Huh? I'm gonna be careful here, John.
You have 4. Why don't we go to this one over here? This is probably the one. Go ahead.
Do I have to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, sir. John, or Steve, one, on Rucker Street, sonic runoff. Need those barriers fixed. We're getting a lot of mud, a lot of rock running across the road on Rucker Street over into the city sewer. And nothing's been done. I mentioned it once before, nothing's been done on it.
Yeah, I know that they've got erosion control up, but it probably is washed out at some point. Steve, do we have anything on monitoring the stormwater erosion there?
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Are there some monetary incentives, i.e. fines or anything like that?
Under an acre, they would fall under our jurisdiction as it was. So I take a look at it tomorrow.
Well, then if we're not under our jurisdiction about the runoff, why are we requiring they put up the barrier then?
Well, under good housekeeping practices, they would be required to do that under the building permit. We have an issue, I don't think we should have done it.
Well, if we're gonna allow the big guys to do it, have the big guys do it, why don't we have the little guys do it too? I mean, that's only fair.
Like I said, our permit kicks in an acre. I'll be sure to look at it tomorrow to see what's going on. I think their sites are less than an acre.
Just have the conversation. I mean, people don't want silt in their front lawn, and we don't want the storm sewers filled up with
It
silt.
can still be approached from different angles.
Okay.
Well, I mentioned at one other council meeting, nothing was done. John, 1201 Elliott Drive. It's wall to wall to the street on the jump. We've had problems over there, I don't know how many times.
I think that one's been investigated. Steve, why don't you come up?
Is Elliott the dead end?
There's been multiple summonses issued there, so it's in the court right now. So that's all I can say. I don't know. Once it gets turned over to the prosecutor, then.
Have you taken pictures of it?
Oh yeah, we're taking pictures of it and we're documenting it. So.
Well, I was by there yesterday and it's atrocious. I had to stop and do a double take. I mean, it's that bad.
I think the last time he was fined $500, and I think it's $500 for the type of business he's got running there is small change to him. So he wasn't too concerned about the paying the $500. He was really concerned about having to do time. So hopefully, maybe something like that can happen next time.
All right, thanks, sir. And I'm going to ask people that own rental property here in town, I'm going to ask them to take a look at their property. We've got a lot of rental property out there that needs a lot of repairs. And these people are making quite a bit of money off of this rental property. but they don't want to expend any money to take care of it. And it gets pretty old to take a look at some of these places. Number 1600 Pine Street is not bad now, but it took us almost 2 years to get anything done up there.
Is that the White House on the corner?
Uh-huh.
Is that the White House on the corner?
Yes, sir. And so I'm going to ask the owners to take a look and to help us, because we need some help out there. If we want the city to look like anything, property needs to be taken care of. And another thing, I would like to state that if you see trash and you're out walking around, you see paper, you see plastic bags, pick it up. Don't be a person that says, oh, I'll leave it there for the cleaner to pick it up. Go the little extra mile and pick it up and put it in a trash can. There's a lot of trash floating around the city that people miss and won't do anything about. And then, again, in getting around the town, I see an awful lot of yards that need mowing. Guys, I want to tell you what, if I can take care of my yard and take care of my mom's, I did, but since I sold the property, I don't have to anymore. But people do it. You know, the city, I could take you around town, and I bet you I can show you 100 yards right now that really need a lot of attention. And some of them are rental property. And you can't get these people to do anything about it, and they're making money off of it. So I'm asking you guys to help. Each and every one of us need to pay a little attention to what's going on out there with our trash and stuff and help us pick it up. Thank you.
Steve, on grass, the new seedings on the 72 extension. So on the north side, there's the arborvitae that we planted. So there's a space between there and the road, and the south side. But neither of those have homes along there. So who's responsible for cutting the grass on either side of 72 extension?
We'll be responsible for cutting it.
Who is?
We'll be
City.
responsible. The Public
City
Works
responsible,
Department.
okay.
And we're hopeful to get the north side of that area in conjunction with the park. We're hoping to be able to get the Parks Department to mow that portion with their prison crew, and then we're going to mow a stretch along the south side.
Okay.
Won't mow it all, but we'll mow a stretch along the curve.
It's coming up good. It was planted very late, but looks like it's coming up. There was a hand over here. David?
I just wanted to kind of second what Jimmy Dale said, especially on the rental properties. I've done a lot of walking around town recently, and I certainly understand the same thing, that people are making good money off these properties, and it doesn't seem like that much to make sure they're maintained. And I know Kathleen does a good job of doing kind of a forum each year where folks get together from rental agencies and other landlords and that. But I'd certainly lend my hand to be part of whatever effort it takes to do what we can to make those properties and those landowners more interested in cleaning up the things that need cleaned up and making things look better everywhere. So, good. Appreciate the comment.
I just want to make a quick comment about the work being done over there on Holloway by the center and all that. But I just want to say I've been up that road 4 times today, and they're just working their tails off up there and doing just a wonderful job for us up there. And I also wanted to extend an appreciation for the patience to the citizens that are having to drive through there. And let's pay attention real close to our workers up there, and let's keep those speed limits down and take care of those folks and thank them as best we can. Thank you very much for that work.
All good comments. Closed session, we have one item, real estate. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Jones?
Yes.
Williams? Reuter?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Crow?
Yes.
Muse?
Yes.
Roeder?
Yes.
Eberly?
Yes.
Schott?
Yes.
No nays?
Yeah.
This is paving that's going to be
Right.
young.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I did what he said.